I begin? Abay mga pangutana before ko magsugod?
Unsa yung subject, sir?
Wala, nakalimot na ka, Mr. Perez, sa imong
Nak
i-enroll.
Nakalimot ko, sir.
Anyway, sige lang, kay mo man na ito ang i-discuss karon. Ako lang sang i-share ako ang slides, ha?
Sige, sir.
Pa-confirm lang ko palihog if you are already seeing my screen.
Yes, sir.
Kita,
Kita
sir.
ba? Okay, I'm actually presenting the PowerPoint presentation for this day's meeting. Okay, so to answer the question of Mr. Perez and for the information of the rest of you, ang ato ang course is IT Elect 4. So this is an elective course for those who took up healthcare technologies as their specialization. No? So kamo tong mga pinili na mga estudyante. So the course description or the course title rather is Telemedicine. Okay, so kanang nga term atoan na siyang i-expound a little later, no? Atoan na siyang tagaan og uh, saktong pagsabot unsa man ang nga term, but for now, please do remember that this is IT Elect 4 and ang iyang course title is Telemedicine. Okay? So for this presentation, we will have the following. First and foremost, ato ang tanaw no ang course description. And then let's look into the course outcomes. So sa mga gina-expect nato na ma-provide sa inyo and at the same time unsa tong gina-expect nga mag-manifest din sa inyo unsa tong mga dapat ninyong ma-perform or unsa tong dapat ninyong mabuhat when you finish the course. Okay, and then of course we'll have to go back with our grading system para lang ma-recall, then our classroom policies, and then eventually our lesson proper, no? So tanan ba dinhi sa inyo na-enroll na sa ato ang Google Classroom? Naabay mga wala pa? Okay, so silence means no. Okay, uy, naday si Mr. Ferraris. Good morning, Mr. Ferraris.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, the last time I checked, Manggod, puros 3B ang nasa sa list. Okay, so I think I just added some of the 3A students this morning. So paki-review na lang if na ako'y na-miss out, na-address sa ato ang Google Meet na wala sa Google Classroom, please let me know so that I can add you. Okay, the reason why I am asking is because when you look at our Google Classroom, naka-indicate dito actually ang ato ang course description. Okay? So ako na lang usang i-change ang ako ang presentation. Okay, again, pa-confirm lang ko if you are seeing my screen. I am now showing you the entire screen so that I can easily shift. So kanito itong ginaistoryahan, no? This is our official Google Classroom. Though wala pa gyud na siya nahanay, no? What I want you to look into at the moment is this one here. Mo man ito ang course description. Okay? So let me read. This course introduces learners to the fundamental concepts of telehealth and telemedicine. So kung nakita ninyo ganina sa ato ang presentation dito sa ato ang PowerPoint, the course title is Telemedicine. Pero para masabtan nato ang concept ni telemedicine, we will also try to tackle telehealth, no? So mo na nga appeal siya sa ato ang course description. Okay? The goal of the course is to help learners understand the importance of using technology, and with emphasis on this one, not as replacements, but as additional means in the timely delivery of healthcare services wherever possible. So emphasis is given to the integration of technology in the different fields of medicine or different disciplines of medicine such as psychiatry and mental health, neurology, and cardiology. So samples lang ni sila. There are other disciplines or fields in medicine nga pwede pagyud gihapon nato ma-integrate ang technology into, no? So students will be introduced to some of the tools currently being used in telemedicine. Okay, so kung klaro na sa atua, ang goal lang yun nato din because you are actually approaching fourth year, no? After ani nga semester, i-enroll ninyo inyong summer hopefully. During summer, you'll have your capstone already. So by then, ang challenge na sa inyo din is to come up with concepts. Nya kay naaman mo sa healthcare na specialization, ang expectation sa inyo is you are to come up with IT solutions nga magamit nato sa health na sector, no? So mo na nga the purpose of this elective course is at least to give you an idea unsa si telemedicine and will be given opportunity to think of as early as now unsay mga pwede namong buhaton as we approach capstone, unsay mga pwedeng i-develop, unsay mga pwedeng i-propose nga magamit siya in the health sector, no? So mao na nga kana nga to ang goal with this elective course, okay? So allow me to continue. Okay, so ako lang nang gi-highlight ang mga importante na mga bagay-bagay din ha. Now let's proceed with our course outcomes. No, so na ako'y tulo kabuok gi-identify. Okay, so number 1, describe the current models and use cases of telemedicine interactions. So sa may pasabot na to ani. Pag may gumagutag telemedicine, as we will discuss further later, daghan man og pamaagi, daghan og ways aron implement nato ang telemedicine, no? So daghan pud i-consider para mamahimo na siyang successful. So naay mga models na pwede nato himuon as guide, and that's what we are actually referring to the current models nya. Kanang tag use cases, i-consider pod nato ang context kung asa kinahanglan mo gamit og telemedicine. Like for example, pag maingon ta og first world countries versus developing world countries or third world countries, context-wise, dili gyud na nimo pwede i-compare sila directly kay lahi man ang sitwasyon, no, sa first world country compared to developing countries or third world countries. Mo na nga sa use cases ato apod na siyang tan-awon, no? How can a certain model of implementing telemedicine can be followed in a particular use case? Okay, so kana mo na to ang subayon. And hopefully at the end of this course, kaantigo na mo maka-distinguish unsa nga model ang maayong gamiton or unsa nga model ang maayong sundon given a particular use case. Okay? Second, analyze etiquette practices that should be used before, during, and after telemedicine interactions. No? Dili pwede nga hawaon nato ang etiquette as we implement telemedicine. No, we are supposed to be bound with rules. Okay? Kanina mga rules will help us of course identify unsay sakto ug unsay dili saktong buhaton as we implement telemedicine. So kana ato na siyang subayan. Hopefully at the end of the course masulod nato sa ato ang hunahuna, no, nga kanina mga butang kinahanglan nato ni siya i-observe before, during, and after. Okay, some telemedicine interactions. And third, because you are IT students, you are to develop a prototype for an IT solution supporting telemedicine efforts of a specific discipline in medicine. So explain na lang nako ni Daan. Probably kini ang pinakamura og peak sa ato ang course, no. This will be your final deliverable. By group, you will be asked to develop a prototype, okay, for an IT solution. So, sige na pasabot na to for an IT solution. Pag may tag IT solution, you are not limited to only one technology. So, you can actually develop a mobile application, a web application, a mobile web application, or any other IT solution you can come up with. Okay? Kamu na bahala. As we go along with our discussions, hinay-hinay ninyo na ma-formulate sa inyo ang mga huna-huna. Uy, kanya ko ang gusto buhaton at the end. Ang goal ani nila tanan is of course to support the telemedicine efforts of a specific discipline. So, mo mention man ta, mo identify man tag mga lain-laing disciplines. No, so dili na to kanang isahon ra pud tanan. You will not be asked to create an IT solution that will be able to handle all disciplines in medicine. Kadaghan man kaayo. So tagaan ra mo isa ka specific discipline. So for example, moingon ko for a particular group, sige, magbuhat mo og IT solution that can be used in ophthalmology. Mao na ang ato ang specific discipline. So kamo na karon ang maghuna-huna unsay pwedeng buhaton nga IT solution that will help people, both ang patient ug ang healthcare provider, ang doctor, ang nurse sa specific na discipline. Mao na ang ato ang tumong din na. Okay? So that's it. Naabay question with our course outcomes. Klaro ba sa ato atanan? Nasabtan na to tong tulo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Question so far. Okay, sige. So, let me continue. Okay, for the grading system, again, recall lang ni, very familiar na mo ani, no? Pero just in case lang makalimot ta. So, ang inyong grade, of course, the highest possible grade na mahatag sa inyo is 100. So, ang 100 is divided into two parts, 70%, mo niya itong ginatanaw karon, and then another 30% na atong i-present on niya. So, kaning 70%, gibahin pa gid ni siya further into two. No? So of the 70% of your grade, ang 70% ana magikan sa mga assessment tasks or mo na ato ang mas nailhan nga 80s. Okay? And then 30% magikan sa mga teaching learning activities or TLAs. So I don't know kung naklaro na ni sa inyo han. I don't know if there's really a need to explain the differences. But pag mingon taog assessment task, ang purpose gyud ani is to assess, no? Like for example, if gusto si teacher makabalo kung naabagyo na sabtan, that's basically an assessment. So pwede ko magpa-quiz. In that way, ma-measure na ko kung nag-grasp ba ninyo, na-comprehend ba ninyo ang gidiscuss nato. So that's more on the theory. Okay, kinahanglan ako na siya i-assess. Another form of an assessment is to check on the developed skills. Like for example, if you have your programming classes, kung ang gitudlo sa inyo is skills on how to write codes, isa sa mga assessment tasks na pwede buhaton sa klase is of course to give you problems that will require you to really write codes. So sa nga nga pamaagi, dili lang kay theory ang gina-measure, ginatanaw pod kung kaya ba gyud put into practice ang gipang discuss sa theory. So that's basically what assessment task is all about. Si TLAs on the other hand, these are activities that facilitates learning. So kung ang purpose sa activity is to supplement unsa tong gi-discuss during the lecture, when we say supplement kanang mura ba og dungagan kung unsa tong na-discuss na, no? Tabangan mo nga mas masabtan niyo mga bagay-bagay. That's basically TLAs. So for example, i-discuss na to karon ang introduction ni telehealth ug ni telemedicine. Towards the end, I'll be asking you to do something to supplement what we will be discussing. So kato siya, dili to siya assessment but rather a teaching learning activities. Okay, so ingana, I hope nasabtan nato na siya. And then katong nahibilin nga 30% sa inyong grado kuhaon nato sa terminal examination. So we have prelim, midterm, and finals, no? So para lang makahinumdum ta, our examination is always scheduled every after 3 weeks. So sugod karon magbilang na ta, ang ato ang prelim exam is after uh, during the third week. Ang midterm after another 3 weeks, ang finals after another 3 weeks. So nga na ang dagan sa ato ang klase. Okay, then adto ta sa ato ang classroom policies, no? So naatay mga ginagmay na gipang change din ni tungod kay ang original nato ng mga policies applicable siya didto sa ato ang karaan nga setup katong face to face. So I had to change some of this one. Okay, so number 1, attend classes whenever and wherever possible. So I know ang uban sa inyo ha, dili man gyud nato malikayano nga magka-problema ta along the way. O ang problems atong ginapasabot dinhi, first, technical difficulties or technical problems. Maguba ang inyong unit, mawad-an mo diha og internet connectivity, or kung wala gyud supply sa kuryente. These are technical difficulties na wala gyud tay mabuhat. Okay? So kung wala ni sila, as much as possible, you are expected to attend your classes. Okay? So, bahala na mo din ha, og unsay inyong buhaton diha sa inyong end, especially nga, karon lang man ko mo require sa inyo ha, og camera, no? So, the next time we will see each other, wala ko kabalo kung nag-unsa mo. And, dili na ko pod manghilabot sa inyo ha. Ang ako lang gyud is, whenever we have our schedule, you have to attend your classes. Ana lang. Okay, so that's basically what our first policy is all about. Ikaduha, you are to submit the required deliverables on time. So, emphasize gyud na to ang on time using appropriate tools. Now, why do I have to emphasize on time? Wala nagpasabot nga dili na musabot si teacher, no? Kay 'di ba naamang gyud mga circumstances that will prohibit you from submitting on time. But the problem is kung batasanon nato tanan nga dili mo submit on time, ang teacher pud ang mamroblema because just like you, we are also to follow strict schedule. No, so as much as possible, pag mo-submit mo og requirements, mo check man sa good me. So kung dili mo mo-submit on time, maglisod pud mi og apas kung kanus ana mo ma-check and kanus ami makahatag sa inyo og feedback on your output. So importante nga magtinabangay ta when you are given deliverables as much as possible, mo comply ta and submit ta on time. Okay? Third, know when and how to ask the right questions. So, this has been an observation ever since nagsugod ang online class. I-share lang na ko ni sa inyo ha. I don't know if unsa pud ni ka sensible sa inyong end, but the common struggle of most teachers is that pag magklase na, especially yung ani nga, dili na namo makitaan ang inyong mga dagway, dili na namo ma-feel kung naapa ba mo diha sa inyong end. No? Nga naman may makaingon na yung ana. Because when we ask questions, sometimes, dili man mag-respond. Okay? Like for example, maingon ang teacher, naabay questions. It will take time pa before mo tubag nga wala or unsa ba. So, sa nga nga pamaagi, medyo isod na sa end sa teacher. Okay? So, that's why I have to emphasize on know when and how to ask the right questions. Because, para ma-feel po sa teacher o sa inyong mga classmates nga you are really interested in the course, isa sa mga pamaagi nato din ha is if you ask questions and if you ask the right questions. Okay, so ayaw mo kaula, walay problema gyud sa pagpangutana. Apil man na sa inyong gi-eskwelahan, no? Apil man na sa inyong gibayaran nga makapangutana mo kutob sa inyong gusto makapangutana. Provided that the questions are all related to what is being discussed. Okay? Bahala gud ninyo ang kusog sa inyong teacher sigig pangutana. Basta kay ang mga pangutana related lang po sa kung unsa nga ato ang gina-discuss. Okay? So I hope masabtan ninyo na siya. Okay, number 4, observe online etiquette. So I don't think I have to elaborate on this one, no? Kasabot naman taon say angay o dili angay nato buhaton while we are online, especially while we are attending our online classes. Okay? So please be reminded of that. Okay, number 5, when having technical difficulties, let the teacher know. Like first ganiha, nag-ingon ko sa inyo na i-on ang camera. Ug wala ko nag-isa-isa sa inyo walay nag-on. Maihap lang ang nag-on. And wala po ko kabalo kung naabay problema. Like wala bag mo'y camera, unsay inyong concern. So if naay technical difficulties, please let me know para at least makuan pod nato unsay expectations. Okay? Before ko mo padayon na aday mga questions din sa chat. Mr. Ferraris, for the instances, sir, that we come up of an idea that requires assistance of the school, example, 3D printer machine, will the school allow us to use it? Ay, kanina, ani kinalaman, I think ganina sa ato ang gidiscuss. Tama ba ko, Mr. Ferraris?
Yes, sir.
Katong ato ang third course outcome. Sorry, ulahi ako ang pagtubag. Anyway, kung kinahanglan ninyo og assistance from the school, especially if you are to make use of resources, pwede na to na siya ipananghid, no? Dili lang sa gyud ko kaingon bluntly this time nga yes. But of course kay kato na mga gamit, ang tumong man ato supposedly is tabangan ang mga estudyante para mabuhat nila ilang mga kinahanglang buhaton academically. I think pwede na to na siya ipananghid. Ang dili lang ko sure is if we cannot access the tools remotely, i-allow ba mo adto gyud sa eskwelahan? Okay, like for example lang kung mayong taog kinahanglan ninyo ang resources sa Mac Lab, katong mga units sa 201, pwede man gud ta mag remote access dito. So you can use the resources of the machine even without coming to the school. Wala tay problema din But in cases wherein ang tool dili nato ma-access remotely, ang kinahanglan lang nato gyud diha ipananghid is if tugtan ba mo moadto gyud sa eskwelahan physically. Okay, so sige lang, by the time nga moabot ta din or even before moabot ta din atoan na siyang pangitaag paagi kung mo-allow ba sila or dili, and I will let you know. Okay? So, na-answer ba ang pangutana, Mr. Ferraris?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so mupadayon ko Again, katong mga naay technical difficulties, me including, kay dili man ko exempted, no? Maka-encounter man sad siguro kog internet problems, maka-encounter man ko og power supply problems, or pwede pong maguba ang ako ang unit ginagamit. So, sa ingana na paagi, mutual ang ato ang effort to let each other know. Okay, so kana. Ihabol lang pod nako. Ayaw lang pod siguro nga permente. Matingana pod siguro tanong kung naguba ka karon. Sa next meeting brown out. Sa sunod na meeting na pod wala internet. So kana murag obvious na gyud na nga naglikay ka sa pag-attend sa klase. Okay? So kana lang. And then lastly, during classes, be at your proper disposition. So, unsa may pasabot nato ani? Again, after this meeting, dili na gyud mo na ko i-require mag-on og camera, no? And that being said, pwede ra gyud kaayo mo nga naghigda samtang naminaw sa ko nga mag-lecture, especially that our class is magsugod og alas 8. No, ang uban sa tua kay nagpulaw man the night before, medyo katugon pa. So kana wala na ko'y mabuhat ana. But if you keep on doing that, or if himuon ninyo na siya na practice or habit, taas kayo ang likelihood nga wala gyud masulod sa inyohang una-una. Wala gyud mo'y makuha sa ato ang klase. Maskin pa siguro magkabuang kog explain kung wala ta sa ato ang proper disposition, then wala na ko'y ma-expect nga makatuon mo. That's why when you attend your classes, dili lang ni sa ko ha, this applies to all your classes. When you attend your classes, as much as possible, sakto na gyud inyong panghuna-huna. Okay? Kung mahimo, nakakaon na mo. Or kung alanganin sa oras, pwede mo magkaon while nagaklase. Pero dili pud mukbang. No. So, mukaon lag sakto para lang dili mapas mo, ana ba, para lang dili magutman. Pero dili kay kanang murag nagtan-og salida nga kada taod-taod na ginaglamoy. Dili pud siguro ing ana kay makawa man pud nag-focus. Ang inyo na lang ginahuna ang unsa naman po'y sunod na kong kanon. Naalang tay ko naalang tay ginakaon para lang ma-energize siguro. Okay? Nya, kung mahimo, part sa ato ang pag-prepare for a proper disposition, ato ang hipuson ang ato ang mga other gadgets nga wala na to ginagamit sa klase. Kung pwede, i-off na to ang mga notifications aron dili ta ma-encourage gani nga magsigig check kung naanabay ni like, ni comment sa ato ang mga post, naanabay ni reply sa ato ang chat. So, ato ana siyang itago sa. And then, as much as possible, hawaon na to ang mga distractions kay again kung naani siya sa ato ang palibot while we have our classes, maskin pag ni-attend ta virtually, wala gihapoy learning na ma-expect. And masayang inyong effort more than the effort sa teacher. Okay? So, I hope nasabtan ninyo why I have to include this one. So far, naabay question sa ato ang mga policies. Naamoy gusto idungag or naamoy gusto alisdan?
Wala po, sir.
Okay, sige. Thank you so much. So shall we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So karon, kamo na pod ako ang gusto paminawon, no? So siguro mga 5 of you, random na lang ako ang tawagon or if naay mag-volunteer mas maayo. Ang ako lang gusto madungog is given the initial talks that we have, unsa man iyong expectation sa ato ang course? Okay? So, dili kinahanglan power ang pagkaingon ha. Just be honest as you could be. Pwede rin ninyo binisayon ang inyong expectations. Okay? So, sige daw, na ako'y volunteer. Wala. Last call, walay volunteer. Sige. So ako na magpili. So kaya ako man ang magpili. Wala ni dapig-dapig ha. Pila man mo na adiri karon. Yeah, there's several of you. Or na si Mr. Rebaila. Sa pamaningo, di na ako makitaan sa screen. Okay, so sige. Let's start with Mr. Tugonon. Ikaw may nasa tunga sa ako ang screen. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Oo, sige daw. I want to hear from you. So far sa ato ang naistoryahan na with this course, unsa man imuhang mga expectations?
Ako, sir, kay Kulba subject.
Okay. Pwede nimo kusgan gamay imuhang tingog or ang imuhang microphone? Dili kayo na mo madungog manggod.
Okay, sir. Udong ka nagtarong, sir.
Medyo gihapon siya, medyo hinay. Pero sige, that will do. Lain pag musinggit na kano. Sige. Go ahead, Mr. Tugonon.
Sa ko, sir, kay Kulba.
Ano man?
Tapos, kay basig walay matunan kay lisod, ana, sir.
Okay, sige. And then, what else?
Tapos unta, Napod ko'y maton na ning ana.
Unta na matun-an.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. Napay lain?
Wala, mora man siguro, sir.
So okay ra nga, na matun-an, bahala di ka pasar.
Ay, kapasar pod, sir. Lain na po,
Ayaw
sir.
ka
Ay.
makapasar pod. Okay, sige, sige. Thank you, Mr. Tugonon.
Sir.
Okay, Mr. Perez. Ikaw ang sunod. Kini kinakapamahaw na ni, so kusgan na ni.
Yan, sir.
Sige, go ahead. I want to hear from you. Unsa man imo mga expectations?
Ano, sir, kanang magamit na mo, tanan natunan ko na mo throughout the years sa subject nimo. Kanang ma-implement na mo siya sa course nimo.
Mhm.
Then, kanang murag, kung sa godon ta, kanang lenient ka sa mo ba, sa subject. Kanang murag, okay lang sa grade.
Unsa may pasabot sa lenient? In terms of submissions, in
Ano,
terms
sir.
of...
Then, kung unsa kadaghan ang activity na ihatag per week, good.
So, as much as possible, walay activities.
Pwede. Joke lang, sir.
Di man na mahimo god. Sige lang,
Yan
we'll
eh.
take into that. Sige daw. Napay lain?
Wala na, sir, katula.
Okay, sige, sige. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Okay. Miss Kabagti, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Sige, ikaw, imuhang turn. Unsa man imuhang mga expectations?
Kuan, sir, kanta ka ng unta ka ng pag nami activity, sir, kay if ever dili na mahuman kay kuan, sir, ka ng pag nami technical issue, sir, unta ka ng masabtan, sir, tapos unta dagan mig learning sa imong classes, sir.
Masabtan nga unsa man nga dili na lang buhaton or
If ever, sir, ba
Wait.
na untahay deadline ano kanina oras tas
dili
unta, sir, ka
makasabit
ng
dayon?
yes, sir.
Okay, sige, sige.
Thank you, sir.
Napay lain?
Wala na, sir.
Okay, thank you, Miss Kabagti.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rebaila, nanindot kayo og buhok? Unsa man imuhang expectations? Do you have any?
Ang expectation ako, sir, wala mong maisip eh. Akong expectation, sir, murag same lamang gihapon, sir. Sila ha.
So kung sa to ilang mga na-mention sila,
Kuan,
true
sir,
to.
na, anong, para sa kuan, sir, kay ang gina-expect na ko, sir, na kuan, sir. Easy lang ang subject, then punta ka ng kuan ka sa mga deadline gani sa mga pasahonon, sir.
Mhm.
Malon to, sir.
Okay, so I think that has something to do with the leniency na ginapangayo or gi-highlight ganyan na Mr. Perez. Thank you, Mr. Rebaila. Mr. Surigao, are you still there? Apa ba si Mr. Surigao? Naa ba kay microphone, Mr. Surigao? Naa? Okay. Sige, sige, di bale. Miss Avila, ikaw na lang ako ang ulahing paistoryahon. Okay, any expectation, Miss Avila?
Good morning, sir. So, expectation ko sa class is, I hope patient ka sa mo, sir, in terms of kanang pagtudlo kay dili man tanan dayon makuha parehas ako, sir, dili man ko fast learner, so need og kanang
Need of course.
need of course, sir. Sir. Tapos kato, sir, sa gingan ni Perez kanang sir, lenient sa mong okay. Parehas sa uban basing naa di ay work or na internet problems maalang, sir.
Okay, sige. Thank you, Miss Avila.
Thank you po, sir.
Gusto lang din ako madungog. Mr. Miras, napa ka? Mr. Miras? So nga ni ang kalain kong kantahay lang, ay na-reply si Mr. Surigao. Ako na siya basahon. But before na ako na siya basahon o before na ako paminawon si Mr. Miras, mo lang ning kanindot nga naa mo no, naa inyohang dagway sa screen because if wala magud ni siya, nya mangutanak ko, are you still there? Mura kong nakigistorya og kalagba. Nya wala ko kabalo kung naa pa ba dinha, no? Di pra sa ni nga naa inyohang naong kabalo ko nga naa pa mo. So kung di mo motingog, obvious nga, naglikay lang mo storya. But if blanco na ni tanan, mura na kog nag-spirit of the glass ako ra isa. Nya kalag akong mga istorya. Nya mangutana kog naapa ba ka dinha? Okay, so ako asang basahon, Mr. Miras ang tuwag ni Mr. Surigao ha before tagaan sa time. Expectation ra nako sir kay unta makakuha mi og idea para sa capstone ug unta daghan mi ma-learn sa whole subject nimo sir. Okay, thank you for that Mr. Surigao. Okay, and to conclude the sharing, Mr. Miras, any expectations?
Ay, sir. Sir, dungog ko, sir.
Oh, dungog kaayo. Sige, please proceed.
Sige, sir. Ang maikana ko, sir, kay kaning magamit sining course for the future your purpose, sir, o
Mhm.
tuon po mga sa imong subject. Mga to, sir.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Miras. Thank you sa tanan nag-share, no? So, just a quick ano lang, I think answering some of the expectations. Dito sa unta na ay ma-learn, paningkamutan ako sa ako ang end to give you the things that you would be needing, no? Pero dili lang na mag depende sa ako. Again, it has to be a mutual effort. Okay? Me will be responsible. I will be responsible in providing you all the materials. No, I will have to explain to you some things, some important things. Pero kung wala pud na gyud sa inyohang end ang desire na mo sabot, I think wala gihapoy pulos tanan. No, so if we are expecting to learn, a little effort pud sa end ninyo, no, nga maningkamot pud na mosabot. Okay? Para masiguro gyud nato nga at the end of the course tanan gyud na ay makatunan. Okay? Now in terms of the leniency towards submission, gimension na nako ganina 'di ba nga as much as possible you are to submit all the deliverables on time. And dili natutuo sabon. That will stand as our policy. Pero sa ako pong giingon, dili man gyud malikayan nga naay mga technical difficulties along the way. So, namo bitaw importante nga kung magka-problema mo sa inyohang end, you let the teacher know. Kay kung dili man gud mi kabalo, for example, ang ako ang giingon, mag-set kog particular deadline. Nya, wala mo nag-ingon nga na di mo ka-submit tungod kay ingani. So, ang ako expectation, you are just being non-compliant. Diba? Whereas kung nagpahibalo mo, especially if nagpahibalo mo ahead of time, makasabot ko nga, dili gyud ni siya imposible nga makasubmit siya sa akong giset nga deadline because of the technical difficulty. So, diha ta mo sabot. Okay? Ang ako alam pod, dili lang pod na to himuon siyang excuse all the time. Diba? Kay sa tinud-anay lang gyud, kung ako ang estudyante niya, dili gyud ko gusto mo submit on time, not because I am not capable of doing so, but because I just don't want to, pwede man gud ko mag-reason out. Pwede man gud ko moingon nga naguba akong laptop, wala ko internet and all, just for me to be exempted from submitting. So I just hope dili po nga na ang inyong motivation. No? wala man ay problema ang pagsabot sa inyong end provided nga reasonable gyud pod ang pagpangayo og excuses. Okay? So napabaon sa pa bang expectation natong iset. Hopefully magamit ang ato ang matun-an sa klase towards the capstone. Kana mo gid na actually ang atong goal, no? Dili ko ka guarantee nga everything that we will cover dito gid pod mo mag-focus sa inyong capstone because there are still a lot of courses that you are undertaking or you have undertook nga pwedeng dito pod magikan ang inyong idea sa capstone. But I will see to it that this course will give you additional input para pag-abot ninyo sa inyong capstone, daghan na mo daghan na mo pwede mahuna-hunaan. Okay? Kaya by that time, dili na lang mapud isa sa dili na magud na sa individual. So there are plenty of brains in a group na pwede mag-collaborate and then pwede mag-brainstorm to come up with the idea. But sa ato ang course sa karon, paningkamutan nato na nga ma-push nato na siya. Okay? So are we clear with all those expectations? By the way, gusto lang nako iingon daan, pag maghisgot magutag telemedicine, it can be seen through different lenses. Unsay ginapasabot nato ana, pwede nato siya tan-awon in different perspective. Okay? Ang pinaka siguro makasabot gyud ani is someone from the health discipline, no? Because majority of the things that will happen in a telemedicine interaction is more on sa health man gyud. Si technology man gyud is just basically the means of doing things. So mo na nga ang ato ang atake sa ato ang course is both theoretical and technical, no? Though most of the time tagaan natog emphasis si theoretical kay dili naman good in question inyong abilidad to actually develop IT solutions. You have been prepared by various courses na inyong na-take or inyong gina-take karon. So that is not something in question here. So mao na nga ang ato ang approach, though na ay technical, majority of which is theoretical. Sabton na to ang mga concepts, no, ni telemedicine. Okay? So naabay mga questions so far before ko mo padayon. Okay, si Mr. Tugonon, are you still fine, Mr. Tugonon? Okay pa ka?
Yes, sir.
Sige. So I'll continue. Makita pa man gihapon siguro ninyo ang slides, no? Ito. So ato sa to ang lesson
Yes, sir.
proper. Sige daw, what comes your mind or what comes to your mind when you hear the word health? Unsa man, yes, Mr.
Well-being, sir, of a person.
Okay, well-being
Well,
person.
yes, sir.
Tama ba? Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Ferraris. Okay. Ikaw, Mr. Gulanes, unsa may mahuna-hunaan nimo or unsa masulod sa imo ang hunahuna pag makadungog ka sa term na health? Okay, status sa tao. Pwede? Okay, kasi pang wala na to na patingog ganina. Mr. Evangelista? Ikaw, kung kintahay mahisgutan ang health, unsa man ang mosulod sa imong hunahuna?
Wellness, sir.
Wellness.
Ang wellness sa tao.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Now, pag moingon tag health, health is of great importance for any individual. Of course, appeal ta din ha. As this has something to do with their physical and mental condition. So katong mga terms na inyong gipang mention, katong well-being, katong status, katong wellness, these are valid terms, pero we'll have to contextualize that one. Kaya pwede man gud nato na gamiton nga term sa laing butang, no? So, ang pinaka-nindot gyud siguro nato nga na term na gamiton to describe health is if it has something to do with the physical and mental condition of an individual. Okay? So, pag moingon ta og health, dili lang na physical. Though we are murabag accustomed mangud kayo ta sa concept na pag health, physical lang. No? Mga balatian nato sa ato ang lawas. But in recent years, ma-realize nato nga ang ato adayng pag-worry sa ato ang physical health should be the same with how we should worry about our mental health. Okay? So, labaw pa, na-emphasize pa gyud ni siya katong uh, niabot na si COVID-19 na pandemic, no? Katong gi-require ta nga dili mo gawas, gi-require ta nga magstay lang sa balay, nausab tanan lang ato ang mga way of life, the way we communicate with people, the way we interact with things, the way we do things. Grabe ang shift. And with that, na-highlight ang importansya sa pagsubay sa ato ang mental health. Okay? So, balikon nako pag mayon ta og health, the term health best describes the physical and mental condition of an individual. Okay? Now, pag natay mga concerns sa ato ang health, what we would normally do is, of course, to seek the help from healthcare institutions. Okay? So, example ani is hospital, clinics, mao man ang usual na to ginabuhat. Though, naputay kaning practice gani, which sometimes isn't necessarily good. Kana bitong pag natay bation, instead of consulting it to a health practitioner, ang atong ginabuhat, gina-search na lang nato online. Hintahay maka-feel ta nga, uy, sakit ako ang particular parts akong ulo. I-search din nato sa internet. What could possibly cause this one? Diba natin nga na nga mentality na karon because of the advent of technology. Okay? Pero ang sakto gid unta nga buhaton, if we have health concerns, we are to seek the help of healthcare institutions or healthcare providers. Kay sila man ang nasayod sa unsa gyud ang angay. Okay? Unsa daw to ang response? Wala may ikagasto sir, maong gina-search na lang, which is valid, no? Unya atoan na siyang istoryahan as one of the things na i-consider nato why we would want to push for telemedicine kanang issue sa cost. Okay, but that's actually a valid point, Miss Avila. Thank you. Okay, so aware ta nga ang ideal unta is kung naay ma-feel na something odd ang isa ka tawo, ang iya gyud untang go-to person or ang iya untang go-to uh, place is ang healthcare institution sa ato ang ipakita ganina. Mao nitong ideal. Kaya lang, it's not always the case, no? Mao bitong naay ginatawag na ideal and naay ginatawag na real. Kay dili sa tanang higayon katong ideal mo ay masunod. So sa gimension lang daan ni Miss Avila, yes, we recognize that the better thing to do is to consult healthcare professionals kung natay balatian. Kaya lang, naay mga factors that sometimes hinder us from doing so. No, mo na ato ang gusto mahibalan dire. Naabay mga gaps. When we say gaps, naabay mga butang nga dili mo allow sa individual para makasik siya og help from healthcare institutions. And I believe all of us would agree that the answer to that is naa. Okay? Yes, there are gaps. So ang question karon, unsa kaya ang mga possible gaps? No? So isa sa na-mention ni Ms. Avila ganina has something to do with cost. Ang pagbantay sa atong kaugalingon o sa ato ang overall well-being, sa ato ang mental and physical condition is of course not for free. It comes with a price, no? So isa na sa dako kaayong challenge sa mas kinsang individual, especially for those na belonging to middle class or nasa mga lower class, no? Itong mga dili gyud ing anak ka well off financially speaking. That's one challenge. Aside ana, can you name some other possible gaps or challenges? Nganong dili nato masunod tong concept nga pag naatay ma-feel na something odd sa tong lawas, nganong dili man ta maka-consult? Sige daw, can you identify some other gaps?
Hadlock, sir.
Mr. Talo is saying mahadlok, okay? The fear of knowing na worse pa di ay ang imuhang sakit sa imuhang ginaisip. That's valid. Okay? Naay nag-respond. Mr. Golanes is talking about convenience. Maybe this has something to do with accessibility. Like for example, kung kintahay mo consult ka, kinahanglan pa ka mo biyahe og layo. Diba? Dili may tagmabaktas ra nimo ang hospital. So basically that's I think isa sa reason. Okay? Miss Avila is saying kung tahay sa rural area, basically accessibility, no? Dili ing ana ka accessible ang healthcare facilities, especially for mga far-flung areas. Okay? Na ay bayad ang check-up. That has something to do with cost na we have identified earlier. Mr. Fernandez is saying, walay healthcare sa ilahang dapit, sir. So that's something to do with accessibility. Mr. Golanes is saying, mag-booking pa. By booking pasabot, dili naay mga higayon ha, dili man pud ni sa tanang higayon, but naay mga higayon nga para ma-accommodate ka sa hospital or a particular clinic, kinahanglan sa ka mag-set og appointment. Okay, so kana. Then usahay taas ang ninya, sir. Correct. Pwedeng walay booking or walay appointment setting pero you will have to wait. Eh dili lang man ikaw ang isa ka pasyente nga kinahanglan tagdon. Okay? And then daghan requirements sa uban, sir. So yes, these are all true and these are all valid. Okay? Masking check up lang, sir, kay gold na kaayo. So that has something to do, I think, with cost. So sakto na inyong ginapang-ingon, no? So to answer this question, obviously there are plenty of gaps. Okay? No? Daghan kaayo og reasons nganong mas pilion na lang nato nga dili gani mo consult, mas pilion na lang nato nga mag self-medicate or mas pilion na lang nato nga i-figure out unsa ato ang na-feel by searching it online. Okay? Even if it's not the best thing to do. Now, isa sa inyong mga ginapang-highlight dito ganina is accessibility, which is one gap na gusto natong ma-address with the implementation of telemedicine. Okay? Wala na to na mention pod no sa mga gaps is it's not just about accessibility but the limitation itself, meaning wala gyoy tao nga capable ana nga particular na problem. So unsa tong ginapasabot, walay mga espesyalista nga doktor. Like for example, kung naka sa probinsya, okay, kung tayo dito ka masakit, ang imong sakit is not just a usual sakit. So, kung moadto ka sa ospital, isa sa mga problema na pwede nimo ma-expect is that dili gyud ka matan-aw og sakto tungod kay walay espesyalista didto sa ospital. No? So, isa na sa mga gaps pod na pwede nato ma-identify. Okay? So, ang pinakabugat gyud na gap na gusto nato ma-address with telemedicine is accessibility. Okay, so I would want you to watch a video Makita ba ninyo ang screen paghihapon?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
sige.
sir.
So, I would want you to meet Harry. So this has something to do with helping us understand na indeed there is really a gap with how healthcare services are being accessed by individuals, especially sa mga higayon nga importante kaayo nga ma-access nato ang healthcare services. So as you watch the video, kindly also consider these questions. Okay, let us reflect on these questions. Number one, what outcomes did Harry receive with each type of treatment? Okay, kumusta man ang dagan sa iyahang pagdawat sa treatment? Na natabangan ba siya na maulian or nag-worsen ba or walay nahitabo? And then, what are the tangible benefits of telehealth technology? Okay, the integration of technology in telehealth. Okay, so sige, without further ado, tanawon na to ni. Okay, by the way, madungog ba ninyo ang audio? Pa-confirm lang ko palihog.
Dili, sir.
Until now?
Wala gihapon, sir.
Wala gyapon, sir.
Yes, sir. Wala gapon.
Okay, for a while ha. Okay. Mhm. Perhaps because this is okay, makita ninyo ang screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige, let's try
Yes,
this
sir.
one more time. Palihog ko ingon kung dili madungog ang audio.
At breakfast on the morning of stroke, Harry's face started to droop. His right
Nana mo yung madungog?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sige, so akong ipadayon lang ha, akong ibalik sa sugi and then I'll let it finish. Unya na ko mo tingog na pod.
At breakfast on the morning of stroke, Harry's face started to droop. His right arm felt weak, and he slurred his words. Felt concerned enough to phone their son. She asked him to leave work and drive to his parents' house. As soon as he saw his dad's facial droop, he had a bad feeling. They called 911 and waited for the ambulance. The ambulance transported Harry to the community hospital. When Harry arrived at the emergency room, he was triaged by the charge nurse as needing the most urgent care. After the attending physician performed a brain exam and suspected stroke, he called the university hospital for a neurology consult. They determined the best course of treatment was only available at the university hospital out of town. Harry got back in the ambulance. At the university hospital, the neurologist met Harry's transfer team in the emergency room, where he was evaluated on the NIH stroke scale. Images were ordered to determine what type of stroke Harry suffered. The images confirmed an ischemic stroke, the type of stroke that can be treated with a clot-busting drug known as TPA. Unfortunately, time is brain when it comes to treating stroke. As the TPA began to drip, more than 3 hours since the onset of Harry's stroke symptoms, the neurologist gave the family a prognosis that left them devastated. Harry would likely never fully recover. he might not ever live at home again. A month later, Harry remains in a rehab facility. His wife visits him every day. She sits by his bedside as the same questions haunt her. What did she miss? Could this story have had a different ending? There is another version of this story, one where Harry's doctor gives him more than a diagnosis and some pamphlets. In this alternative story, Harry enrolls in a remote patient monitoring program. His doctor prescribes him a health tablet, a glucometer, and a blood pressure cuff that connects his data to his health record. A care coordinator checks in on Harry and his wife. She coaches them on how to manage his conditions. When Harry woke up on the morning of his stroke, his wife immediately recognized the fast stroke symptoms and called 911. As the ambulance rushed to their home, Harry's wife contacted their care coordinator. She used augmented diagnostic technology to confirm Harry was having a stroke and called in to his ambulance via video upon EMT arrival. As the ambulance transported Harry to the community hospital, the EMT established a live video connection to the stroke neurologist at the university hospital. The neurologist assessed Harry on the NIH stroke scale by the time the ambulance arrived at the community hospital. Harry bypassed triage and went directly to imaging. As Harry lay in the scanner at the community hospital, the stroke neurologist sat at his desk 40 miles away, waiting for the images to appear on his monitor. The provider was already at Harry's bedside when the stroke neurologist confirmed an ischemic stroke. Using a video connection, the stroke neurologist discussed the course of treatment with Harry's wife and the charge nurse at the community hospital. The neurologist ordered TPA, and Harry's drip started within 42 minutes of his first symptoms. If time is brain when treating a stroke, then our second Harry had the best prognosis possible. After the TPA drip finished, Harry was transported to the university hospital out of town for additional treatment. A month later, second Harry's life is almost back to normal. He still goes to therapy twice a week to help him recover, but he manages his own daily routines and lives at home with his family. The deciding factor in the fate of our two Harrys was their access to the right care, in the right place, at the right time. Telehealth accelerated connected Harry's treatment and set the stage for his recovery, but disconnected Harry never really had a chance. Find out more about how telehealth networks save lives. Join us in the Telehealth Village to learn the foundations of connected care.
Okay, so nakita na to ninyo, no? Kumusta man ang short clip? Did it help us marabag see the clearer picture of what this is all about?
Yes, sir.
Nakatabang ba to siya? So kutanawan na to dito sa katong short clip, no? Katong access na itong gi-highlight ganina is not necessarily the same access that they actually have problems with. Ang ato among access is really the availability and then our way of reaching that facilities. Sa ilaha mong good is the disconnect between the different facilities that would actually require them to take more time before pa ma-address ilang concern. So sa tua, sa mga developing countries, mas lala ang atong problema in terms of accessibility. Okay, it's not just dugay ang pag dawat nato sa serbisyo. Sometimes the services really aren't there. No? Dili lang ni a matter of how long before before matagad atong concern, but sometimes it is worse as naabatay way para matagad ato ang concern. Na ikinalaman sa and bangkay kuna how can actually be on course. Okay? So Naabay question so far?
Sir,
Hello?
putol-putol ka ganina, sir.
Um,
Yes, sir.
hello? Hello? Madungog na ko ninyo?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sige, I'll be using my phone for my audio. Okay, so far, ano ni atong giingon na technical difficulties. Okay, with the video that we just watched, nakatabang ba to para mas masabtan nato or kita nato ang whole picture kung unsa gyud ni ato ang ginatun-an sa ato ang course.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so dako siyang tabang no para ma-appreciate nato and of course para masabtan nato kung unsa gyud ang ato ang goal sa pagtuon aning ato ang course karon. Now, in that particular short clip, makita nato nga indeed there is really a problem in terms of access to healthcare services. Kaya lang, if ato siyang i-contextualize diri sa ato ang nasod sa Pilipinas, or I think this is applicable to other developing countries, mas lala pa adto ang ato ang problems in terms of accessibility. Kay kung tan-awon mo gud nato sa video, wala may problema because there sa ilaha naay ospital, naay mga espesyalista, naay mechanism to transport the patient. It's just that there is disconnect. Meaning, para makumpleto ni Harry ang tanan niyang kinahanglan agian, para mahibal-an kung unsa iyang problema, it will take time. Sa ato magong context, it's not just the time that is our enemy. In some of the areas in the Philippines, mas lala tungod kay wala gyud tutanan ang mga facilities. Walay ospital, walay doktor, walay way para makatransport. No? So all the more mas problematic. Kung for example, na masakit from these particular areas, it will take even longer time before pa man mahatod or before pa man siya makasulod dito sa mga healthcare facilities and matanaw kung unsa gyud problema sa iyaha. No? So that's the challenge. Now, with telemedicine, somehow
Di man pud ta kaingon no, especially kung diri sa Pilipinas nato siya tan-awon. Dili man pud ta ka guarantee nga ma-address gyud nato na siya nga issue and ma-solve gyud nato na siya 100%. But at least with the implementation of telemedicine, matabangan ta nga somehow ma-alleviate nato to nga suffering sa mga tao. No, makahatag ta og better opportunity for them to access the services, the healthcare services na ilahang gikinahanglan ug ilahang deserve. Okay? So, I will continue sharing my slides. Pa-confirm lang po palihog if you are seeing it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, let us continue. The integration of technology in the delivery of healthcare services addresses some of these gaps. So, sa akong pang-mention, dili gyud tanan, especially sa atoa, sa mga developing countries. Wala gyud assurance nga with the implementation of telemedicine, tanan tong problema nga atong gi-identify ma-solve nato. But at least, ang importante, hinay-hinay, moabot ta dito and that nga natay ginabuhat to address these gaps. Okay? Now, with the onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic, all the more nga mas na-appreciate nato or mas ma-appreciate nato ang implementation sa telemedicine. Diba kay kung ato ang tan-awon ang nature sa ato ang COVID-19 pandemic, as much as possible ginalikayan nato ang face-to-face interaction or ang human-to-human interaction. And because of this, kinahanglan nato mangita og alternative and innovative ways aron padayon paghihapon ang access to healthcare services in the absence of this face-to-face or physical meet-up. Mauna nga, with our understanding of telemedicine and telehealth in general, makaingon ta nga, gamit gyud di ay kaayo siya, especially now. No? So, mauna to ang isa pod sa mga motivation, the current problem that we are facing today. So, karon, ato ang sabton unsa man si telemedicine di ay. And in understanding telemedicine, of course, we will have to understand first what's telehealth. No? So kanina mga terms, kung tan-awon nato sa World Health Organization or WHO, sometimes they try to use the terms interchangeably because they give the same meaning for the two words or the two terms. Usarag definition. But for other literatures and other sources, ilahag yung giklaro nga lahi si telehealth and lahi pod si telemedicine. Okay, so ato ang subayon. First, let's focus on telehealth. So telehealth refers to a broad range of health-related services across healthcare disciplines that are supported by telecommunications technology. So mo niya atong murag general understanding of telehealth. Pag moingon tag telehealth, nganot ta kaingon nga lahi siya sa telemedicine is that very generic siya. No, ang iyang tumong dili lang para mo provide og clinical services. When we say clinical services, katong mga services na gina-provide sa healthcare providers aron maayo ang mga sakit sa tao. No? Si telehealth, isa lang to sa iyang mga ginabuhat. Okay? That differentiates it from telemedicine. So, tanawon na to ang uban pa mga definitions. According to the World Health Organizations, telehealth refers to the delivery of healthcare services where patients and providers are separated by distance. So kung i-search nimo ang meaning sa telemedicine as given by the World Health Organization, pareho lang sad. Mao gihapon ni iyahang definition of telemedicine. That's why we were saying earlier, sa World Health Organization, ang terms telehealth o telemedicine pwede gamiton interchangeably because they are defined in the
So World
same way.
Health Organization,
According to Mayo Clinic, this is a very famous organization in the US that has something to do with telehealth and telemedicine.
according to May,
So ihang gi-define si telehealth as the use of digital ICT, so information and communications technologies, to access healthcare services remotely and manage your health care. Okay? And then
and manage your
another definition is from HRSA. Okay, so the use of electronic information and telecommunications technologies to support and promote long-distance clinical health care, patient and professional health-related education, public health, and health administration. So, kung tan-awon na to, dili na to masubay nga, indeed, telehealth is actually way broader than telemedicine. No? Kay ang telehealth manggod also covers
kay ang tele
professional health related education. Meaning,
also covers
among professional healthcare providers,
among professional
pwede sila magtinabangay, pwede sila mag-collaborate, pwede sila undergo of information exchange for them to be able to improve their education. Okay, appeal po sa concern ni telehealth is the administration, policy making, all of which are supported by electronic information and telecommunications technology. Okay, that's basically what telehealth is. Now, telemedicine, on the other hand, is the use of medical information exchange from one site to another via electronic communications to improve patients' health status. So, ang focus sa telemedicine is providing clinical services. Given nga ang atoang pasyente o ang atoang healthcare provider is not in the same geographical location. No? So, muna ba gi-zoom in further si telemedicine as compared to telehealth? Okay, so I hope klaro ang diferensya nilang duha. So, ato ang concern is more on telemedicine. Okay? Being able to bridge the gap between the patient and the healthcare provider. Aron masiguro nato nga whenever there is a need to access healthcare services, especially by patients from distant locations or distant areas, naagihapon way nga maka-consult sila, matagaan sila saktong diagnosis or prognosis, and eventually ma-improve ang ilahang health status. Okay? So, naabay questions with our definition?
None so far, sir.
None so far, sir.
Okay, so far, wala. So, sige, ato ang ipadayon. Let's now talk about the benefits of telehealth and telemedicine. Okay? And after this one, we will end our session. Maghatag na lang ko og activity for you to work on. Okay, so, unsa di ang mga pwede nato makuha when we implement telehealth and telemedicine? So, ato ani siyang categorize into who gets to benefit from telehealth and telemedicine. First and foremost, ang mga pasyente. Okay, so these are some of the benefits that a patient could get when there is an implemented telehealth and telemedicine. Okay, so increases timely access to primary and specialty care. So increase timely. Ang ato ang operative word dito is timely, no? Kanang Kay di ba sa video natong gitanaw ganina sa story ni Harry, critical kayo ang time. So increases timely access to primary specialty care. Kaduha, improves ability to self-manage conditions. Unsay ginapasabot nato ani? Because telehealth and telemedicine allows the continuous communication between the patient and the provider. Ikaw nga pasyente, maskin pag naana ka sa inyong balay, dili ka mahadlok or dili ka makulbaan nga di ka maatiman or dili nimo ma-manage ang imuhang recovery or ang imuhang sakit. Tungod kay, every now and then, there is a way for you to actually communicate with your healthcare provider and then check from time to time how things are going. Ga-improve ba? Wala ba'y development or nagalala ba? And whichever of these na imong ma-encounter, dali na lang dayon pod mag-decide on the next course of action to take. Okay? Ikatulo, avoid transportation time and cost. So, kani dako kayo ni siya nga tabang. Di ba kay sa inyong gimension ganina, sa pagpa-check up pa lang daan, kinahanglan na ta mo gasto. Unya, sometimes sa check up dili gyud necessarily nga ing anak kadugay. Ingnon ra ka nga mao lang ni imuhang gibati and so on and so forth. Unya, nikalas na ka og oras, nikalas na ka og kwarta. Okay? Wala na to giniingon ha nga possibly free ra gyud pud ang consultation in implementing telehealth or telemedicine. But at least mas ma-minimize siguro na nato ang cost, no? And the need for us to transport from one place to another para lang maka istorya ang ato ang mga healthcare providers. And then, in our present time, isa sa mga dako kaayong benepisyo nga nung mo push sa implementation sa telehealth and telemedicine is it limits the exposure to special pathogens. Like for example, si COVID-19. Because wala may physical encounter, wala may face-to-face contact si patient o si healthcare provider, malimitahan nato ang pagpasa, no, sa COVID-19. So these are examples of the benefits that patients can get from telemedicine and telehealth. Now, adto ta sa mga healthcare providers. Okay? It facilitates better outcomes. Tungod kay, kung ako ang doktor, I can have consultations with other healthcare providers, especially mga espesyalista. I can ask for second opinion. So, with that, mas mamahimong sakto ang ako ang diagnosis at the same time, ang i-administer nako nga tambal na mga test sakto. And masiguro nato nga mao gyud toy gikinahanglan sa pasyente, mao toy gikinahanglan aron masulbad natong iyang problema. Okay? Increases workforce expertise and capacity. It reduces exposure to special pathogens, sa tatong gi-mention ganina sa case ni COVID-19, and attracts top talent while reducing burnout. No, kay ma-delegate man, dili man necessarily nga isa ra ka tawo tanan ang musalo sa problema sa pasyente. Mamahimo siyang avenue for a collaborative work among healthcare providers. Inapoy benefits na makuha ang hospital system. So, improves transfer coordination and fills the gaps in specialty coverage. So, sa may pasabot ani, I don't know if na-experience ninyo firsthand, but it's possible that a patient has to be transported from one facility to another. So, nakita po ninyo ganina sa story ni Harry, kung ang facility, kung asa siya una gidala, is dili equipped sa mga tao o sa mga butang para ma-address ang concern sa pasyente, then obviously, there is really a need to transfer the patient. But the problem is, lisod ang coordination. With telemedicine and telehealth, mas mamahimong efficient ang pag-coordinate. Therefore, ang pag-transfer sa pasyente dili gyud necessarily mamahimong dakong problema. And then fills the gaps in specialty coverage. Katukod, dili magudlanan healthcare facilities maka-provide yun sa need sa pasyente, especially in terms of mga specialized healthcare providers. No? So, kato mga facilities na kulang, ma-fill inan to na gap, kay pwede man nga makig-collaborate sila with other healthcare providers that doesn't necessarily belong to the same organization or institution. Then lastly, sa community, it improves population health. No, kay tanan naman, or dili punta kaingon gyud 100% nga tanan, but at least mas daghan na karon ang matagaan og opportunity to access healthcare services. Okay? Connects resources around health goals and then mitigates workforce shortages. Okay, again because of delegation. So these are some of the benefits that we can identify and we can associate to the implementation of telehealth and telemedicine. Okay, so klaro ba so far ang mga bagay-bagay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have questions? Okay, sige. So kung walay questions, as mentioned earlier, no, that is I think the end of the slide. So for the rest of the period, na lang ko ipabuhat sa inyo ha. And then once you are done with that, then you are free to go. Okay? So for the instructions on what to do, palihog na lang kog check. I think reflected na sa inyong Google Classroom ang instructions sa ato ang TLA number 1. So while you are accessing that, Mr. De Niro, pakicheck na lang sa email. I think I have already invited you. I just don't know kung imuhan nang gi-accept ang invitation. As far as I know. Mr. Tugonon? Okay, sige. For a while, I'll give you the link para kamo na lang mismo mo join. Sige daw, pakicheck ko palihog sa link na ako ang gibutang sa ato ang chat box for those who doesn't belong yet sa classroom. Okay, for those who are already invited, paki-check palihog sa instructions na ana didto . Okay na ba? Nabasa na sa so far ang instruction, nasabtan? Unsay ginapangayo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. So, I won't hold you for too long. Palihog na lang ko. Trabahuan ninyo to inyong TLA and then dito na punta mag-jump off sa ato ang next meeting. Ato ang subayon, unsa tong mga significant events in the past or unsa tong mga significant discoveries in the past nga ma-associate nato with how telehealth and telemedicine is formed at the present. Okay? So, sige. Kung wala na questions, wala na kinahanglan pang i-clarify, I'd like to end our meeting for today. Just submit your output and then I will see you on our next meeting sa Monday pohon. Okay? Sige, so you are all dismissed. Have a wonderful day ahead.